This is a nice rug.
Yeah. All right. Welcome to RLR Podcast. Today we have with us Aaron. I play bass.
Aiden, I play guitar.
Ian, I play drums.
Keith, I play the keys.
Nathan, I play guitar and sing.
And we are Big Red Ants.
Whoa.
We nailed it, right?
Nailed it.
Got
Nailed
this
it.
time. All right.
Thanks for coming out, guys. You already
Thanks for
recorded
having
some awesome songs for us. Where'd the name Big Red Ants come from?
So, I guess this was probably like freshman year of high school. Me and the original drummer, his name was Angus, we were sitting around, dicking around and coming up with like the worst band names we could think of. And we came up with Big Red Ants, and not too long after that, we decided that's what we're going to call this project.
Perfect. Okay. How did you meet Ian? Where'd you evolve from there?
Well, I met Brothers through a guy named Ian Salzar. I think I reached out to him when we were looking for a bass player. This band originally started off as just a guitar and drum duo, and then it's kind of evolved and gone through a couple different things. But we started looking for a bass player, and I think I reached out to a guy named Ian Salzar and asked him, and we stayed in contact from that, and then then kind of met him, ran into him, because we ran into each other a couple times, and so
Yeah, and I was just there.
Who was next after that?
Keith was after that.
yeah. So I think we're getting a little
Yeah,
out
we
of
just
order.
like
So,
shuffled way out of order.
yeah, Angus was original, and then we jammed around for a little bit, and then Aiden came around. Aiden was the first, I guess, out of all these guys that joined. So Aiden, met him through high school jazz band, and we kind of hit it off. We talked about some of the records that we're both into, and we kind of hit it off over like old blues music and Stones and stuff like that. And then from there, the bass player that was with us, he told us he was going to start working his way out. His name was Bo, and we had played a couple shows, I think, with his band that he was in at the time called DTB. And Bo recommended that we reached out to him, and we were like, well, that's a no-brainer, so we reached out to him, and he came and tried out, and it was like a perfect fit right off the bat. And then Brothers came around not too long after that, and that was kind of a friend thing. And then Keith just joined a couple weeks ago. This is his third gig with us. He played a tune on the record, and he grew up with Aiden.
Yeah, we went to middle school together.
Yes, and so
Played a lot of talent shows together.
we're all kind of friends of friends.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's really cool, man.
From Arlington or all over?
Arlington.
Yeah, pretty much Arlington.
Very cool.
We're all neighbors.
What was the vision for the band? Like as far as your influences and what type of music you wanted to write?
Well, I think we're all into different kinds of music, but we all have kind of like a common root in old 60s, 70s rock. I think at some point we were all exposed to that growing up, and we kind of dug it. But I mean, y'all want to like go through the influences and I don't know.
Well, I'm just really into anything technical, whether it be like funk, jazz, or like math rock. I just like, I guess, the construction of the songs that way. So I'm like all about song composition and stuff, and I think that's probably the biggest thing that shows through with the Ants music is the structure of the songs.
That's awesome.
I was real into like funk and blues growing up, and so a lot of our newer stuff has definitely incorporated a little bit more funk into it, which is a lot of fun. But that's
Well, I know the Big Red Ants sound has changed when I kind of joined the band and stuff. It was more, I don't know.
It's close
More
to classic
four on the
rock.
floor,
Yeah,
very heavy
yeah.
drums. It was
And
real,
then, yeah, I came in and
burned through it.
relatively through a bit more jazz-ish kind of, and then we did like a a Cream thing for Fort Worth Rock Assembly last year, and I think that really also helped change more into the classic rock 70s 60s sounds. Yep.
Is it
Yeah, you're up. It's your turn, man.
my influences or
Either or.
Oh.
I don't think it matters.
Oh well, I grew up just listening to nothing but jazz and R&B, and I sort of got exposed to the 60s and 70s rock coming into the Arlington music scene type deal. I didn't really listen to anything other than jazz before, probably like 2 years ago, and so all of my playing is inspired by like jazz music.
Which is not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, I kind of grew up with Beatles and, you know, all the stuff that every guitar player has kind of shown growing up, you know. Real into blues music, like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and Buddy Guy and that kind of stuff. A lot of the 60s chest level stuff, like mid to late 60s, that stuff's real cool. And then into soul music, you know, a lot of soul music. So I feel like it's kind of made its way into my playing, you know.
It's interesting.
Whether if I know it or not, you know, it's just the stuff that I hear.
Comes out.
Yeah.
So it's blues, jazz, and funk,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or like
The
60s
best.
rock.
Trifecta.
It is the trifecta. Can't have one without the other.
Let's start with you, Nathan, on how and when did you learn your instrument?
I think I picked up the guitar in like 3rd or 4th grade and just kicked away at it. I took to it and liked it, you know. I did like little league baseball and whatever, and I got a guitar and I was like, screw all that, you know.
Did you ask for a guitar? Like,
Yeah, I asked for a guitar for Christmas, whatever year that was, you know. Yeah, I asked for a guitar for Christmas, and then I got a guitar, and then my parents put me in guitar lessons. I was like, I want to learn how to play, you know, could you hook me up? And so we found a guy named Jimmy Adcock over in DWG at the Arlington School of Music, and I took lessons for probably about 3 or 4 years, and I just fell in love with it. I got the bug, you know.
Yeah, right.
the
It's hard to let go, too.
Yeah.
You got the ants in your pants.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good one.
I quit.
Keith, when did you?
I learned how to play my instrument when I was like 6. I wanted to play guitar because I saw like an episode of Johnny Test where he was playing guitar. And I was like, man, I want to play guitar. So I went to my mom. I was like, can I take guitar lessons? And she said no. And instead, it got the organist at my church to teach me how to play organ. And so I started playing organ and keyboard first. And I hated it. I hated it so
Yeah.
much. I hated
Was
playing.
it just because you like learned like stuff you didn't want to like play at
Well,
the beginning?
it was most of the stuff that I learned at the beginning was like classical music,
Classical, yeah.
just because you got to get your fingers trained and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roots.
You're right. And I just hated it, and I stopped playing probably when I was like 10, and then I picked it back up around like 13 when we were like in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah. And ever since then, I just like fell back in love with it, and started learning jazz, R&B, all that type of stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome.
My brother, when I was about 6, got a drum set, and I played on it a lot, and found out that I can listen to music and stuff and drum along the tracks, and that was very helped out because I just made noise, and it was not a good set. It was like really just cheap Tama, I think, or and then I joined percussion in grade school and did it throughout high school, a little bit at college, and then just adapted that to the drumming, and I mean I still play some percussion. I own like a marimba and stuff, but otherwise now it's just drum set, and it's really I feel like made me a different player than kind of most drummers, having that percussion vibe, you know, and it's, I don't know, helped me.
Okay. I got my first guitar when I was 7, for Christmas when I was 7. And it just kind of sat around. Like, I wanted so bad to learn how to play it, but just kind of got discouraged at first. Picked it up a little bit later and really started kind of diving into it. took lessons around for a couple years, learned the basics, and then from there just kind of did my own thing with it. So cool.
Picked up bass I guess I picked up guitar when I was 6. So my first instrument was guitar. My teacher was like all about funk. So he was like, "You should play the piano," and I was like, "No." System of a Down doesn't play the piano. And so I was like super into like heavier like rock music, and I went to a funk teacher. Just because my mom was like, "This place is close, we'll go here." And I was like, okay. So took a few piano lessons. I was like, no, I want to play guitar. My mom got me a little Strat multi-set with a cheap Strat and a little lamp. And played that. And I was like, well, you have a whole bunch of instruments. I should play all the instruments. So I picked up bass probably like 2 years later when I was 8. And then I started learning drums, and then I moved away. So like my education only went to, I guess, guitar and bass and a little bit of drums. And played guitar for a number of years. And then I played bass in DTB. And everyone's like, "That dude's a good bassist." And then like ever since then, I've always been like the bassist. But I love it. It's still fun.
Bass is fun, man. It's different. It's different from 6 strings, but it's not at the same time. All at the same time. It's just the groove. It's the feel. It's definitely more about just closing your eyes and just feeling it.
Yeah.
That's
So I would say like I'm definitely not your traditional bassist because I like weird tones like this.
Yes.
And,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm just super about like experimenting with the tone of the instrument.
Very nice. Which you have to keep, just to keep fresh, to keep ideas and inspiration. Like if you're not a musician, I don't feel like if you're like always evolving. I mean, I just feel like that's what musicians have to do to, just stay on top of what's always just new and being thrown at you every single day. I mean, not anybody, but so much can just be thrown out there for you to hear, and it can be done just like a place like this or a place like that. It's anywhere, anybody can do it. So that's why I just feel like being experimental is really good for modern day bands, and, just being, I don't know.
Tone.
Yeah.
Tone is such a big part. Like you don't think about it, but that's huge. That's like half your instrument. You
Yeah.
can learn how to play your instrument all day, but tone is everything, man.
The sound that you want, yeah, for sure.
How many EPs or albums do you guys have out so far?
This will be the third record. And then we also put out a single somewhere in there. So.
Take us through your recording process from like your first record to this one.
Well, the first record we cut was over at Crystal Clear in Dallas, and that was when it was just the duo with me and Angus. And then I just laid the bass down after we cut all our stuff. And we were figuring out how to make a record. We were probably like 15 when we went and did that, and so we were learning. It was a learning curve. And then I want to say probably about 2 years later, we went and cut the second record, last year's Big Fall, over. They had a setup studio where I used to take guitar lessons at over at the Arlington School of Music. He moved a couple buildings down and had a bigger space, and so they set up a makeshift studio in there, and we went and cut the record there, and we did drums and guitar live, and then had a bass player come lay that stuff down, and then we did overdubs from that, and then this last record, we'd write a tune, and then go lay down drum and bass live, and then I'd do all the guitar and vocals after the fact, and then we would go from there. He'd come lay some guitar down, and then we'd do background vocals, and then just kind of build up the sonic like landscape from there, and we cut all that at my house.
That's awesome.
And then we mixed it there, and then sent it off to Crystal Clear to get that record mastered.
I feel like you've had a better experience each time, kind of knowing a little more of what you want to do, how you want to record.
I think it's just every time it's a learning curve, and the more you record, the more you learn, and then the more you test stuff out when you record, the more lessons you learn. It's just all you just keep learning, and so I feel like every record we've done has gotten better because we sat back and talked about what worked and what didn't, and what we want the next record to kind of be like, and you know what we want to take from the previous experience and apply it to the what's next, you know.
How did who did this artwork?
Yeah, it's actually my dad owns a production company for like live events and stuff, and he has an artist who builds like and designs some sets and whatnot, and we came to him for an idea for it because he can make some like really kind of psychedelic stuff, and he did a great job, and he's a super nice guy, and we met up with him like once or twice I think, and he just took an idea and ran with it and sent us a couple different versions of it, and we finally settled on that one, and it worked out really well because we were pretty much on a tight budget, and
It looks badass.
yeah, so yeah, his name's Carlos. I'm from Dallas, and
Shout out.
yeah,
Shout
Carlos
out Nichols.
Yeah, Carlos Nichols.
Yeah.
Love you, Carlos.
Yeah, yeah.
What is one of y'all's favorite shows y'all played so far?
Well, my only favorite show that I've played is the last one.
In Denton?
Oh no, not JJ's.
I think my favorite show was our album release.
Yeah,
Probably.
the
Oh, I
last-
was there at that
Yeah.
one too.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
came and set in on the
very nice.
tune that he played on this record. He Over My Head. He came in and set in on that one. That one was just a fun show.
Yeah.
It felt good. There was a good turnout.
Where was that at?
Mass.
Mass? I don't know.
Yeah, we love
We
Mass.
played
Yeah,
with
we
Meech
were great.
Pango and Sir Duda, and they were both awesome. It was just, there wasn't anything to complain about.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just a good night from
Yeah.
beginning to end.
Yeah, it's pretty packed.
It was
It's packed.
in there.
Yeah.
People love that place, man.
Yeah, they
Everyone's
do.
playing there now.
Yeah.
Mass.
That's
Yeah,
such a great venue.
Alan Brown's doing good stuff.
Sound and everything is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like really what I hear a lot of is like the sound.
Sounds really good there.
That's all
Everybody
Mark,
knows
man.
when you're dealing with sound at different venues. It's just like, what's it gonna be tonight?
I think the first time we played there, we got there and Mark had like looked us up on Facebook or whatever
Yeah.
and knew our names.
Yeah,
You know,
he does.
so
He
like
does
he did his
research.
homework.
He's
So
like,
we got
yeah,
over there, he was
wow.
like, Ian on drums, what do you need?
That's
Yeah.
good.
You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, he knows his
Really
stuff for
nice
sure.
guy.
That's awesome, man. That's really
Well, goes into my next question. Your biggest on-stage mistakes. Have any bad mistakes in that show?
I think I've
Smiles.
we were at Grotto. We were playing Grotto,
Rest in peace.
and
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Gosh.
and it was between songs. I think everybody was kind of tuning up, and I guess my strap wasn't on right, but I stretched my arms or something, and the guitar popped off and just hit the floor, and I just kind of froze.
Oh no.
And just kind of like looked around, and everybody kind of like tried to play it off cool, and I was like, fantastic.
This is great.
That was pretty bad. I don't know how you could talk that. Was the guitar okay?
Oh yeah, it's
Okay. All right. Right on. Right on.
I think my biggest Ants mistake, I don't think anybody noticed it, but we played this really funky tune too many times. And we like soloing it crazy. And that night I just forgot that I had to solo. So I like picked the key that I was most comfortable with soloing, and then I just transposed up to like the key that the song was in.
Wow.
And so after I was done soloing, we do that burn-oop, and I was still playing that, but in the wrong key.
Oh.
And I did that for about 2 minutes till I was like, who's playing the fucking wrong notes? I was like, oh, it's me. And I turned the transposition off. But I don't think anybody noticed it until
I did.
now.
It sounds like some kind of wonky harmony.
No, we're
Yeah.
We were gonna kick you out
said-
actually.
You
but-
said that
was before
that
it
song is from another. Wait.
It's
Sorry.
from the last record.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Well, we put in like a big funk jam in the middle of it and stretch it out to be 10-15 minute thing, you know. Do like the Oprah Winfrey of solos, we just pass it around.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think my biggest flub was at the Prophet Bar. I fell off the stage.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a small stage.
It is a small stage. And I
It's
was
pretty
like,
high up.
It is really high up.
Yeah.
thinking
I was
about
right
it,
next
yeah.
to that, you know, the doorway
Yep,
that you can go to
yeah.
the green room and the bathroom.
Oh,
And I was
no.
like just rocking too hard. And I guess people had noticed that I was really close to the edge.
Oh, no.
And I was like rocking back and forth. And then eventually like I noticed it myself. And I was like, nope, this is inevitable. So I like stuck my leg out, and luckily I'm tall enough to like just like pivot and catch myself. So there was just like a solid few seconds. I was just like off the stage, like not dead. Breathe.
Recover.
Get back on stage.
She just ran around like to the front, be like,
Play it off.
yeah, look at that, yeah.
I did that on purpose.
That was part of it. What's
Crazy.
what's your pet peeves as musicians? What do you hate other musicians do, or pet peeves about playing live, recording?
When we have to fight for a sound check.
Fight for a sound check.
Fighting for a sound
Yeah,
check.
when you get up there and they're like, let's go, and we're like, man, let's test our guitars out real quick and make sure our first song's gonna sound as good as the rest of this set. You know?
Yeah.
First song is the mix song, right? Come
I
on.
think
Yeah.
my biggest
Lose
pet
people on
peeve-
that first song too. It's
Yeah.
like, ah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, everybody comes back in from their smoke break, and that's like you either cash them or not. You
Yeah,
know?
it's
And
true, yeah.
If your sound's rough, then it's not the best first impression.
And they're like, these guys don't know what tone is.
Yeah.
We're like, it's not us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
My biggest pet peeve, just as a keyboardist, never being able to hear what I'm playing. I think just no matter what venue, Mass is good about it,
Yeah.
but literally every other venue, they just won't turn you up, and you just can't hear anything. And so I'm just playing blindly, you know, just hoping that what I'm playing is sounding okay.
Changing the sense and forget it.
Right. Changing the key and forgetting to turn it back down. Yeah.
I think for me, like, as a loud singer, they're always like, okay, mic check. And I'm like yelling into the microphone. They're like, whoa, that's loud. Turn it down. And then it stays down. And everyone's like, I saw you singing, but I didn't hear you. And I'm like,
I started playing in soundcheck. I would play a little softer, so
Yeah.
then when I was starting, I'd play in my normal, and then it could be heard.
yeah.
Right.
Sometimes
I
you
should
start
do
at
that.
100.
Yeah.
and all
That's smart.
I'll freak some people
Yeah, you
out.
trick them out.
Yeah. The first one, like, oh shit.
Gotta fake it.
Red lights everywhere.
What's your favorite show? We'll start with you. Favorite show you've ever seen, locally or nationally touring band? Anyone?
I absolutely love Coheed and Cambria. I'm like a big prog fan. I like Rush. I think my favorite show is probably, let's see, 2017 or 2016, Coheed and Cambria Starlight Ballroom.
Where was that at?
Sorry, not Starlight. It's a Dallas venue, some ballroom.
Palladium Ballroom?
Palladium Ballroom.
Now
They
it's-
changed their name, right?
Yeah, what is it now? It's like
I thought it's
Southside.
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 Yeah,
Southside.
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 Ballroom,
Yeah.
is that what it is?
Yeah. That's a cool venue. I love that venue.
It's
I've never
awesome.
been there. Do you check it out?
I went to, I think it was like about this time last year, I went out to Kentucky for Forecastle Festival. And I'm a big sucker for soul. And I saw Charles Bradley out there.
Oh, dude.
That was I
Rest in
stayed
peace.
up. I sat through watching I had to get to the front, so I sat through like hours of, there was just this boy band that played before him on the same stage, and I was like, whatever, as long as I'm up front for the next thing. So kind of sat there and waited for that, but that was nuts. And then
That's great. That's pretty
same, like right after him, Cage the Elephant went on.
Oh,
Live, they are absolutely nuts. And those were two really cool shows.
That's cool.
So you said at the same show?
Yeah.
So Charles Bradley, then Cage the Elephant,
Yeah.
and then
That's
like
that's
a boy
bang for
band
your buck,
before?
man.
that's a nice variety.
Yeah.
That's great.
I've never listened to
Is that the
Coin.
name?
Yeah.
The boy
The
band?
boy band. Yeah.
Coin.
Coin.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple. I was probably about 12. I saw Roger Waters' The Wall at American Airlines, and it blew my mind. And then Primus did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh,
That
whoa,
blew my
that's
mind.
crazy.
And then
They,
most
like,
recently,
They
what?
like played to it or like?
Yeah, they remade
remade
like the album, and it's called Primus and the Chocolate
Oh,
Factory.
wow.
And
That's
so they
crazy.
did it like with like a whole like kind of Chocolate Factory set, and like played like over like a psychedelic version of the movie,
That's
and it
crazy.
lined up perfectly. It was really great. And then most recently, White Denim played, and it is
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. I've never been so happy watching a show.
White
than
Denim.
White Denim.
I've heard someone else said that too. So.
It's so great. Yeah.
I looked into it.
Being just a big jazz nerd, I think my favorite show I've ever been to was Snarky Puppy at Granada. They played Granada like 3 years ago?
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, I went for my 14th birthday. So yeah, it was 3 years ago. And like, no one was there, so I was just like right in the front until
Yeah.
people started piling in. So I got to like be right at the very front of the Snarky Puppy show, which was really nice. And also the White Denim show down in Austin when they were playing that Residence at their studio.
Yeah, with Andy Pickett, right?
Really incredible.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
We sat there. We got there at like 12, and White Denim didn't play till 8. So we sat through like all the bands, all those shitty bands.
There's a couple.
Did y'all go to that
There's
together?
a couple good ones.
No.
No, it was,
That was the South by thing, right?
yeah, that was their South by thing.
Yeah.
It was me, Salazar, and Bob.
Okay.
But it was so worth it waiting for White Denim 8 hours out in the heat.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I think my favorite was the Arcs Levitation makeup show. 2 years ago, I think.
Wait, is that Arcs? That's with
Dan Auerbach?
Dan Auerbach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They Levitation got canceled, Levitation Fest, because it was like supposed to flood or whatever. And so they announced, like last minute, they had all these makeup shows. You know, like Black Angels played at like Stubbs, and all the bands that were supposed to play Levitation just went and booked last minute shows at all these clubs. And so the Arcs and all the tickets were like super cheap. So they it was probably, I was in like my last class of the day. I was and so they announced, hey, we're playing Mohawk and tickets are $5 and it's going to charity. And so I called Dad up because I wasn't driving yet, and I was like, hey, we gotta go down to see him. So we as soon as I got out of class, we booked it down there, and couldn't figure out how to get tickets online.
Yeah.
So we watched it sell out, but we were already halfway down by the time it sold out. So we were like, let's just go see if we can find some outside, just ask around. So we ended up Craigslisting some tickets.
No
and
way.
got in, and they were
nuts,
mind blowing. It was like a haunted Grateful Dead kind of thing. They jammed a ton, and it was really cool.
I want to go to Levitation, man. They're still doing it, right?
Mhm.
They still do it. We're huge Black Angels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Angels.
Let's see. What's your plans for your next album? Do you have any songs in the works already?
Kind of, we're working on it. I think we're kind of on the fence with like the single thing for a little bit, or the record thing. We've talked single and we've talked record a little bit. We've written got one pretty much written, and then I think we've got some other ideas we're kind of noodling with.
Do like a 45, just A and B, just two.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. We're kind of, it's all kind of up in the air right now. So.
You don't have like a sort of goal you're trying to work towards this
Like a
year,
sound
next
or
year,
a
for the album, just your next release.
I mean, again, we've kind of talked about it. I think more funky.
Funky and experimental.
Yeah, more funky, more. Try to get away from like the guitar, bass, and drum thing.
Yeah.
Try to sonically stretch out even more.
Yeah.
I think you can say we're starting to lean like full psych rock. We're definitely starting to take things further out, and expand, and I just think more technical, more far out sonic stuff, and just experiment more in
You
terms
guys
of like
weird
sound.
and have fun.
Yeah.
You guys like King Gizzard?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
They're the best, man. I saw them at Stubbs earlier this year.
Okay.
Nice.
Hot as fuck.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You're like, you could barely breathe in the crowd, man. It was terrible. How do you, we talked about your recording process, but what about the creative process? Do you kind of come up with the bare bones and then bring it to them, or
It's kind
all
of
right
each
together?
song has been different. Some of the, I mean, it's all one of us has a riff, and then like the rehearsal we'll bring it in, and we'll kind of all build up a song around it, and then sit on it for about a week. We practice usually about once a week, and so we'll take it home.
You'll record when y'all practice.
We'll take it home for about a week and sit on it,
Yeah.
and then bring it back, and we'll get it rock solid. And then it's on this last record. After that, we book a date, set aside the knockout rhythm section, and then kind of go from there. And so we do like a tune and then record it, and then a tune and then record it. But every song is kind of different.
Yeah.
In terms of like how it began and how we built it up. You know, I think some of it was more of like a lyrical idea, and then we did tunes around it, and then some of it was more of like a riff, and then we built the music, and then we put lyrics on it after the fact. And then a handful of the tunes were songs that we wrote a while ago with the old bass and drummer, and then kind of revamped with the new lineup. And so yeah, every tune was a little bit different. There wasn't like a rock solid writing process, you know.
I mean, that almost is like what makes a band sound, right?
Yeah.
Everyone with their own backgrounds, their own characteristics, what they grew up listening to, bringing it into actually writing it, not saying, hey, this is what I wrote, this is what you're playing. Like,
Yeah.
you actually have input. You know, that's a true band sound. So
Yeah.
it sounds like y'all found it, which is amazing.
Yeah, this.
And then, man, you just walked into just this all gold mine here.
Yeah. It was crazy. I had seen the Ants play when Aiden first joined, like 4 years ago, and like they sounded great and everything, but then like I saw them at that CD release in Mass. I was like, holy shit, what is this? It was incredible.
That's awesome. And then you actually played that show
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
so
It was really
crazy,
fun.
man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think just like the common thread is it's all collaborative. I mean, I think we all like the way we play,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's why we've hit it off musically is because the way we play agrees,
Yeah.
you know, all individually, and I think like together we do a good job of like playing off of each other and we complement each other's playing, and so I think if you can find dudes that get along like that, then the collaboration it's easy. It comes, you know, and it's exciting to hear what like everybody brings to the table. You know, it's like when I like come up with a riff, I purposely don't screw with it too much because I'm excited about what these guys are gonna bring to the table, you know, and it's just it's fun, and I think that's the
awesome.
key to it, you know.
It is.
It's exciting.
Collaborating with people is you gotta know how to do it. Because if you're constantly critiquing everything this player does in your band, you probably don't want to be playing
Right.
that person because you're not liking what he's doing.
Right.
So you gotta find someone where you just you're like, I almost like everything he does.
Right.
I just love. You're
Right.
great. I love it. Whatever. So when you do have something, you're like, I can't wait to hear what this guy's gonna add to
Yeah.
this guy. That's cool, man. That's really cool. What you guys have any guilty pleasures, bands or artists you wouldn't usually tell people you listen to? Even just a song.
Yeah.
Was it Call Me Maybe?
Yeah, right.
There's this new like R&B artist out, or I don't know if she's like R&B or like R&B pop or something. She's a 16-year-old white girl named Billie Eilish.
Never.
But
It's
she
on
released
Spotify.
she released a single called "You Should See Me in a Crown," and the chorus to it is so fucking dirty.
You know she's
and
like
grimy and
16.
shit. Yeah, I know, it's
crazy.
wild. But like, there's like the synth under her voice, and it's so fucking cool. I listen to it all the time. Everything else sucks ass about the song. That chorus.
That chorus hits, bro.
That's great.
As long as you write a chorus, right?
Right.
So many times when I'm like going through Spotify playlists or something, I kind of find something and I'm like, I start to dig it, but I'm like, I wouldn't show anyone else this.
Yeah.
I like it though. I'm gonna listen to it alone in my car. Most important question of the day: what's your spirit animal?
Not all at once. Not all at once.
All at once.
You guys ready?
I would like to
3,
say,
2, 1.
Elephant.
Keith Richards.
Hey, very
Spirit human.
Only 2 people answered.
I would
Unless
say
he is an
dodo
animal.
bird.
Never mind.
Dodo
bird.
bird, probably a good one. I think I'm very majestic. And I just like to fly away.
A giraffe.
Yes.
That's good, dude.
Or a bear. I don't know, giraffe or a bear.
Why about a
The bear's a good one.
Yeah, I don't
What's
Yeah,
with the
the giraffe
giraffe?
has that
What
long
like draws
neck.
you to a
I'm
giraffe?
just
Giraffes are cool
really
as heck.
feeling the giraffe right now.
Okay.
just really feeling it?
Imagine a giraffe.
You're
Nautilus.
seeing everything, man.
If you know what a nautilus is.
What is a nautilus?
you might
It's a
have
sea
to,
creature.
Yeah.
Is that like a narwhal?
It's
No,
like
it's
an
a
octopus with a
crustacean,
shell.
yeah.
Okay.
It's
That's
like
weird.
It's like rounded, kind of.
Oh wow.
But he said giraffe, so I had to say something weird.
Yeah, right.
Something more strange.
I think that's very normal.
Thank you.
Richards wasn't.
And that's why you complete me.
Keith Richards wasn't weird enough.
Can we
That was
just
the best
discuss
one.
how he's still alive?
Oh man.
You know, guys? Like,
I don't
Dude,
know
he's
how.
pickled, man.
And
He looks
what-
like
what
a
else
zombie.
is-
I
He
feel
looks like a
bad
really
just for his-
worn in
yeah.
like catcher's mitt.
Rode hard and put up wet, man. Jesus. Yeah,
Oh, man.
literally, bro. his knuckles just like make me hurt. Like, I'm just like, oh man, it just hurts, dude.
They sound good though, man.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, of course you still got it. Yeah, just
I
keep
think he does that. He does like that Hollywood Vampires band with Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like a super band with Johnny Depp.
Johnny
Like
Depp.
Joe Perry's in
Yeah,
it
Joe
too.
Perry, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
What does Johnny Depp do?
He plays guitar.
Guitar, man.
Yeah.
He's basically
Yeah,
a
'cause
weird
that's
Jack
what he
White.
wanted to do
Yeah.
before acting. Is he wanted to
Really?
be a musician, so he
That's
did
funny.
acting and that, and now it's turnfold. So now
Yeah.
he's has a super band.
So many
I always love seeing bands that have actors in them. You know, it's always so weird.
Like Wallows.
Yeah, Wallows.
Wallows
The guy
pretty
from
rad.
13 Reasons Why.
I don't watch the show, but I like the actor.
We played with Dennis Quaid at a Gas Monkey
No
bar.
way.
His band.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like an old man blues band.
Yeah,
It was,
he did a whole bunch of covers.
yeah, he was weird.
Have you ever heard of the band called Main Man? It's McLovin from Superbad.
No
It's his
way.
band.
That's right.
It's pretty cool.
No way.
Yeah, they're pretty
Main
good.
Man.
Yeah, they actually played Float Fest.
Oh,
This
shit.
year's Float Fest.
I can
That's
only
cool.
imagine how many McLovin signs
He,
there
he
were.
plays bass.
Does
Yeah.
he really?
So
Yeah.
he gets no signs.
He's actually pretty good.
yeah, there's people don't even know who he is,
Yeah.
really.
Because he's a bassist. No, stop
Yeah.
there.
This is the reality.
We feel the bass.
Yeah.
We actually have to see the bass,
Yeah.
but we feel the bass.
You may not have noticed it, but your ears did.
That's right. That's right. Your
Just
rib
like-
cage
Felt it in his
feels
heart.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Yeah.
thank you guys for coming out,
Most
playing some
definitely.
tunes for us.
Yeah,
This was
thanks
super
for
fun.
Where can people go to find your
yeah,
stuff?
social
Music,
media,
social shows,
Big Red
upcoming
Ant.
Do we have
shows.
social
Yeah,
media?
come to the shows.
Yes, come to the shows.
What's your next show? Do you have
Yeah.
any booked right now?
September 23rd at Mass is the
Very nice.
No.
the next big
No,
one.
22nd.
Second.
Yeah, we're playing at Jay Gilligan's at the 22nd
Dude,
for
nice,
the
Jay Gilligan's.
Frame for Frame Fest.
We're playing like a 3-hour set.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
We've
Yeah.
been slotted as a 3-hour set.
we got no idea how prepared they are for
3
how
hours
loud
of-
we are, but
I don't know if
Space
I'm
Gilligan.
prepared.
yeah, but
Tiny ass.
and
What
then the
about-
next day.
They do have a pretty tiny
What's our
stage.
at, my dude?
Oh,
Yeah, our Instagram and
Yeah.
Twitter.
Big-
at.
Big underscore red underscore ants, and then I think on Twitter it's just at Big Red Ants, all one word.
BigRedAnts.gov.
Yeah, and then
Oh, watch out now.
but yeah, and then we got our websites, BigRedAntsBand.com.
Big Red Ants Band.
That has all of our
You can
No
find-
dot
you
gov.
can find
I
all
know
things.
dot gov.
BigRedAnts.com.
Big
Put some extra, yeah,
right here.
extra work for Tanner. Okay.
You can
Put it
find
in
all
here.
things.
Click right here for
All
the
dancing band,
annotation to
please.
Big Red Ant.
Yeah, put the annotation right here.
Oh gosh, yeah. Take all their faces.
Like, subscribe, comment.
Very
Hit
nice.
that notification
Make
bell.
sure you subscribe to Retro Labs.
Any other?
Yeah, we'll plug it in.
Any other plugs? Any other plugs for you guys?
I think my mom is pretty great.
Check out.
Love you,
I like
Mom.
Thank you for
moms.
giving life to me, parents.
That was tough pushing
And
you
Ann's
out.
mom's pretty great.
Oh, my dad wanted me to mention that I got my name from him, Keith Galloway Sr.
Keith on keys, man.
Kind Keith.
Keith on
Kind Keith.
Oh my god.
Oh, and Kind Keith on Instagram.
Keith on Keith.
Or unconfused.
And today we
I remember at the MASH show,
Kind Keith on
you
Keith.
were like, yo, here's Keith on keys. And my dad was like, that's my name from the audience.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out, rocking out some tunes.
Big Red Ants.
That's right. Crank it. Play the parts. Play the parts.